Good morning, and another beautiful morning it is. A strange morning. I did my 1 minute check, and it got me thinking into, the way I'm going to take this, and still haven't got around to doing my streams yet, and hopefully there'll be one this weekend. And just got to that point where I'm like, I've got a decision to make of where do we draw the line between commenting on a situation and affecting a situation. And I don't really want to affect the situation, although I have had an effect on the situation, and that's why it happened. Same with those guys. So there's also the part of me which is like trying to work out, because it is post-cult. I've got this post-cult mentality which is so strange, and it is the truth, and it only just started occurring to me really that that's the case, because I'm like, for so long you're just there going, oh, I can't do that, and I can't think that, and I can't, and it sounds worse than it is. It really does, because when you say that you think, oh god, no, it's a bit extreme, innit? No, I don't mean it like, it's not as extreme as that, but it is. And over time, it goes on for so long, and when it's not that extreme, it's even worse, because they're your mates. These are your mates. It's like some sort of loyalty that you've got. It's like a real thing that you would have in the tribe as a good thing, like looking out for each other and watching each other's backs and keeping it in the family. That was one of Evil's big ones, keep it in the family. And it's just, I don't know, over a long period of time, there's the bit that you can see and the bit that you can pick up with your hands, and then there's the bit that's just in the air, that you breathe, because it's just been there so long. It's like if you live in a world of farts or something, there's the solidified farts, and then there's just the air is just farts. And how do you, excuse me, I just don't like this. And how do you draw the lines? And I mean, that's, I suppose, when, for me, this is getting onto that next level of observation of a situation which is so specific that I've got a chance of drawing those lines, and I've actually been in what I would say slightly occult mentality. I think most people on the internet are, though I don't think there's anything unique about that. I really don't, because I came here from an online cult in the first place. I wasn't really part of it. I was watching it. I started out and I was doing my normal YouTube things. When I first started, I was watching my it was fucking Pizzagate, man. It was all Pizzagate and all that. Prior to that, I had used YouTube for ghosts and Bigfoots and fairies, UFOs, big one, lizard people, and Donald Marshall and all that stuff, and the fucking David Icke stuff, all that. That's what it was for. Old YouTube, 2007 YouTube. Finding cool artists as well, not a bit like how Twitch was when it first started. You had some really random shit going off. I don't know what it's like now. I won't go in there now. Can't be arsed. Watching things, and I got into sort of these mystery channels and stuff where they talk. It was mainly Bigfoot and the Missing 911. That was it, the Missing 911 with David Paulides. And so there were some communities involved with that, and there was some chat, so I got into chatting. Then I got put onto the Nathan Barnett, which I was already into, but I'd never got into it. So I used to watch his dances. His Obama victory dance was one of my favourite things on the internet for a very long time. And then got to know the man. Oh my God. And that's another story for another time. But that was an online cult, big time. And I saw that go through quite a few. I saw it come up from it wasn't nothing when I got there. It had already had a couple of boosts, and I was one of the influxes, probably the second or third that I was aware of, influx of new people into this small community. And so I saw it from the beginning, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, this, and I was in the Discord, and it was the first Discord I'd really been part of, and I was like, this is the narc pit. And I'd also been, whilst watching my fairies and things like that, I'd got into watching some narcissism stuff, and I got watching started by watching Teal Swan, and then I went on to Dr. Harmony, who I do actually occasionally watch still, although she's a bit creepy. And then I got into Dr. C from there, and I quite like him, but he's just... Then I got into the real stuff. Then I got into Richard Brand was the first one, and then he showed me Sam Vaknin, and then that was it. That was, I felt like I'd got to the source at that point. And I still do watch other stuff like that, but that's how my journey was. And then obviously when did I get into this? I got into Rick's while I was still at Nathan's, but I was aware of it being a narc pit. I wasn't aware of the e-begging side of things. I didn't even consider. You don't. Even as someone who's really into consumer affairs, and I was a little bit into narcissism, but not like I am now, and a bit paranoid and all the rest of it, I was still like, oh, each to their own, no. Didn't really think anything of it. But then Rick opened my eyes, and then I started seeing the world. And then the Amico happened, and then we had Tommy Tallarico, and I was like trying to get everyone to see at the time, because everyone was really into the scam and the games and the jokes and the lag and all that stuff, and the counting lag and stuff. And I loved that part. I loved that about you guys, that there were so many people, so many geeks doing so many geeky things with it. And then I was in there with my geeky thing, which was the psychology, and there was only a handful of people who were interested in the psychology of it. But I was like, guys, the psychology of this is just so beautiful. Fucking saggy melons. It was just beautiful, mate. And so that's what got me more into a more field-based approach to dealing with these online cults. So I can know one when I see one, and now I do anyway. I thought I did, but yeah, for a very long time before I even let myself believe it, it already done loads into my head. So even now, I'm like, dare I comment? Dare I? I shouldn't say that. And it's not even in my head. It's not even in the front of my head. It's in my bones. So that's an interesting one. But I've also got it in my head that this thing is going to be a catharsis. I'm not going to pick on them. My intention is not to really disparage them. I mean, there might be time. I'm not going to say that I'm bloody sane or I'm perfect in any way. But there'll be times when I'll probably let it get the better of me. But most of my actual intention is just to get it down, just to get it out. This happened. I'm not having a load of people, especially Ricardo, pushing it, because I don't think anyone else would. But this one, just to push it and pretend it never happened, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to let that slide. But I'm also not going to punish them for it. It's not my job to punish them. It's not my job to do anything. I'm just here to observe it. If live and let live, let me observe it. You're going to do it, I'm going to observe it. But I need to stopping myself. But then I've got my reasons in that, do I want to affect anything? I don't really want to affect anything. But as long as I'm not affecting anything purposefully and negatively, then let it be affected. This is life, isn't it? We don't live in a fucking vacuum. So anyway, that's my thinking on this, looking at stuff, because there was a few things I wanted to mention. But I might just leave it for now on that. Just in the sense that, again, maybe it's my cult mentality and I'm just like, oh, it's not worth rocking the boat. But it is. I'm already rocking the boat. I'm out of the boat. This is it. This is where I'm at. So I just need to keep telling myself that. And I think one of the things I wanted to mention was it's interesting, because if they do end up just carrying on as if nothing's happened, which I probably would, and this is where I've thought about affecting it, because now I've said something, they might say something, which is good, because as long as, it's not like my intention is to heal the world or heal anyone, but if any effects that I have could have positive effects for people in the future, then I'm not going to hold that against myself. Likewise, if it's something negative, I'm probably not going to blame myself, but I'm not going to intentionally go for that, or, if anything negative happens to come across anybody, I'm not going to throw myself in front of it like I would have done in the past over and over again and got nothing in return for my efforts, apart from these guys now being enabled, I realised to enable someone like Ricardo, I enabled them enough so then they could enable someone who was so far away from the social ways that anybody needs to be to actually get access to people like he did. That's on me, that. Trying to fucking, I don't know what I was trying to do. But now, because these guys are pretty weak, as we've seen, you know, they picked on a woman. It's a cliche, you know, and I'm not just playing the violin or anything, but look at what it is. They picked on a woman to get something out of their system. You know, they were playing scripts out on a lone woman and just trying to get rid of anybody who was connected to me out of weakness. So I'm not disparaging, I'm just saying, what does that leave you with now? So we've also, remember, I'm a bit of a white blood cell for this community, and I do think, say, the geeks, freaks and weirdos, and it's the corner, it's the last bit. We've already withstood the fucking synth attitude of Dean when he was trying to do that. We've already withstood that up to a point. But now, like, I went round to Buttocks last night, and it's like, we're all going to end up coming together or existing together in some way. Now we haven't got a couple of fucking manipulators with a vested interest in just dividing and conquering big time. All them three of them in their different ways and for their different reasons. That's all it's about. Now there might be bits and pieces of that over there, but it's just jokes. It really, like, look at Volt. Do you know what I mean? Volt does that sort of shit all the time, but everyone just takes him for who he is. He's our mate. It's what he does. He's not, that I'm aware of, he's not like really deep in there with anybody doing this shit. It's weird. It's like the difference between like some sort of paint on your skin or having like a really deep rooted boil or something. I don't know. And anyway, the way I was looking at it is like, if they don't admit it and they just carry on and whatever, then what are we going to get here? We're going to get what I was going to accuse the PSG of, which is that they were going to siphon themselves off as a bit of a fundamentalist cult. Because that's, I suppose, what happens when people start enforcing their parameters really strongly, possibly as a defence or something, which I did see those guys doing at one bit for a small amount of time. But you can't do that. They can't do it because they've got too much of an eclectic mix. They've got Buttocks, and they've just got, everyone's a bit different, and although they do all kind of dance to the tune, they are all different. And I think as things have got a bit more difficult, or not even difficult, or they've just lost one of their sources of supply, or they're just stepping away from their source of supply for a small amount of time, and that massively changes their dynamic, and they've closed it down, as I've said before, like having to buy in and subscribe into it has made it so who's going to be the fundamentalist cult in the end? Who's going to be the ones that are siphoned off? The ones that can't admit reality, the ones that can't talk about anything, the ones that have had to put an overlay of hatred on everyone. I mean, I'm saying that myself, but to be honest, I don't think I ever really hated anyone. Some people really got my goat, as in Albert and Dean at some point, I'm sure, and even Buttocks did at some point. But I don't hate anyone like they do. I'm not going to go in, even because it was Ricardo who was doing the day in, day out attacks on Lewis and Dean and everyone back in the day, and at first it was funny to meet someone who was from their group, obviously. I'm sure you had the similar thing on the other side, who was willing to slag them off. And for me, the reason why I was friends with, the thing I got from Ricardo, was when he was doing the Q-tip thing about Carl. That's how he won me over, because I was so pissed off at Carl at the time. So pissed off. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I wouldn't say that level of invested hate. Again, like I said, like I was trying to explain that to Dean last night. They don't mean that they're perfect in any way at all. Absolute fucking dickheads, some of them sometimes. But there are dickheads at some level, and it's not all being siphoned. With Dean, it was being siphoned off a little bit. I think he's chilled out a bit more now. It was being a bit siphoned off for his own benefit. But these guys, it's just like their egos are so big, or so small. I don't know. But it's like it's the black hole. It's another black hole situation, and everything goes into there. I don't know. It's a bit to ponder on. Maybe I'm just talking bullshit. But they're my points. Is like, that's what I'm challenging myself today, is just saying it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And like, what the fuck? What's the worst that can happen at this point? What do I think I'm gonna save? What do I think I'm protecting? What boat am I trying not to rock? I don't get it. What's going on in why is my head doing even that? These guys have just done what they've done for a great long time. And for some reason, I'm like, oh, let's try and make the best of it. Like somewhere inside of me. And I'm not even trying to make the worst of it. I want to honestly say my point of view. I'm not saying it's exactly how it happened, but honestly say how I saw it with eyes unclouded by hate. That's the challenge.